Hey everybody. This course on the nature of attractive characters in video games is always a bit of a mess. It's one of the first topics I talked about when I started working on videos, and in this entire year, nothing has really changed. The same type of ridiculous strawman arguments are still used to discredit anyone criticizing this aspect of recent games, predominantly in the AAA side of the Western games industry. Recently it has flared up again because of Ghost of Yotei, of course, and I wanted to return to it in this video. It's good to refresh people on this subject and not let bad faith actors get away with their lying and obfuscation. You know, it's good to check them every now and then. This picked up momentum again mainly in this post, although it's been going on in others. This particular one gained nearly 1 million views in just one day, and it's still counting right now, racking up a lot of comments and reposts, some in support, others countering it, and others, well, roasting it. Here's my favorite one from Keita, a fellow content creator criticizing entertainment. From my understanding, it's mainly movies and shows, but he also dabbles in gaming sometimes. I refuse to be lectured by someone I can pay less than the chicken combo to see naked. I mean, hey, I can't really argue against that. And in retrospect, like after scripting the video, going through all of the posts and everything, and now that I'm recording it, he's absolutely right. Like this, let's just say that things are going to get really stupid later on in the video. Anyway, shout out to Keita. What I'm going to be doing in this video is the opposite of what this woman did by steel-manning her argument and going over how abysmally stupid and wrong her take is. In other words, I'm not going to be misrepresenting the points, moving goalposts, or discrediting her by digging up random crap from her profile just to try and get a win instead of attacking the argument itself. Even though, to be fair, I don't even know who she is, but she does seem to have over 200,000 followers. Anyway, let's get to the post. So the post features a meme of sorts, with the left panel saying female characters that actual gamers want, and the right panel saying female characters no one wants, with some of your usual suspects on the right, including Atsu from Ghost of Yotei, and a few good-looking female characters on the left, featuring girls from Resident Evil games, Lara Croft, and Luna plus Mael from Expedition 33. Her quote reads, "I don't know who needs to hear this, but women who you don't find personally attractive exist in the real world, and they can exist in video games as well. If you can't play a video game without every woman in it looking like a gooner fantasy, you are brain-rotted and need help."
Shut the fuck up! Thank you.
As usual, we have the whole thing where they sexualize the conversation. This was already a theme a year ago where I showed various examples of it, where several people's reactions to posts like these, where characters aren't even sexualized and are just showing their faces, are always to throw the entire discussion into the mud by talking about gooning. Again, strawman bullshit that exists only to detract from the actual issue at hand and make it about something else that is easily and quickly invalidated with, "Oh, you're brain rotted and you need help." This is usually where I would sweep this under the dumbass rug, but instead of just calling this person out for being a moron and moving on, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and go at it from a position of good faith. Her first statement contains a delusional appeal to emotion. She says that women who we don't personally find attractive exist in the real world, and so they should be able to exist in video games as well. I think this is just baby shit, honestly. Here's the thing. The argument of what can and can't exist in games based on what exists or doesn't in real life, or even within the looser constraints of fiction, is irrelevant. If you're making a game, especially in AAA where hundreds of millions of dollars are at stake, especially nowadays, then you want to sell your game in as much volume as possible. You can't restrain yourself with idiotic nonsense like that, where you're crippling your game or your budget based on realistically pointless things. You need to be making business decisions that make sense, decisions that appeal to as many people as possible. Contextually, this does not always mean attractive or good-looking female characters, and it definitely does not mean gooning material. If you have grounded games like for example Heavy Rain or something like that, stuff that even deals with a degree of grittiness by exploring darker themes and using settings that kind of show a seedy underground of society, then you obviously don't need to present random female NPCs or side characters in those areas that look like models. Sometimes you even want specifically the opposite of that because you want characters that kind of sit in the background and don't draw too much attention to themselves. But for highly fictionalized settings or big blockbuster type of action-adventure games or role-playing games where your players are spending a lot of time with their characters, even to the point of customizing them, or for example as side characters that are presented as central to the plot, especially in main roles or side roles that you can romance in some games, then logic would dictate that you should make an appealing character. And appealing, by the way, doesn't mean gooner fantasy. Again, this is a disingenuous and boring strawman argument. It doesn't address the point, it literally does nothing, and in the end it even looks beyond retarded because again, you look at the post that is being discussed, the meme that is being criticized, and all that is on display are characters' faces. Neither of them have anything visible below their collarbones, well, except for Abby, but since Abby was literally given the body of a man, it really doesn't matter.
That ain't no woman, it's a man.
I'd like to believe that this person would not disagree with this point, but honestly, who knows? There were so many replies of her to other people in her post that were even worse than this, so I don't know. But let's move on for now, because regardless of whether people agree or disagree, the very truth itself isn't up for discussion here. Not really. It's just the truth, and they can either accept it or keep coping with posts like these that I will gladly debunk as many times and from as many angles as is needed. Appeal is a hard word to nail down when it comes to describing what that means for individual people. The truth is that there's some things that are appealing to some people and not to others. For example, Kata likes feet. Sometimes I'm logging into my Twitter to see what's going on or just to check if I've got any messages and bam, I get toes on my timeline because of him. You know, it is what it is. I have accepted this. The moment that I followed him, I saw that and I just accepted reality. I was like, you know what? This is going to be a thing sometimes, and it is what it is, you know, it's my cross to bear. But I don't think we need to overcomplicate it here because it's obvious when it comes to activism in the games industry. There are character designs that make no damn sense. They are unconventional on purpose, going strictly against what is usually the standard in ways where it's damn clear that they're not even doing it just to create an original character with its own original quirks, but to challenge those standards. And of course there's other open examples of this, such as the one that I brought up last year in my other video. But as a reminder, let's bring it up again. An initiative by Epic Games and Dove to, bring real beauty into the virtual world. How? Well, by literally taking conventional female character standards and giving them a full 180-degree turn, going the opposite way instead, to even prioritize disabilities, trying to pass on the image that up to 70% of female gamers hate the way that female characters look, that their designs are bad and play into harmful stereotypical representations of beauty or heavily sexualized ones. They cite a study that they made themselves with no real credibility. Feel free to check out my first video where I cover this in a bit more length. Though, be warned, the audio is kinda shit. The characters that they put up as the apparent designs that the games industry really needs to do to truly represent the 70% of women who supposedly feel misrepresented are composed of a fat black albino woman, a fat Hispanic woman, a disabled woman in a wheelchair, which of course they made in game form and would 100% shove into settings where they make no sense, like for example this dude here in World of Warcraft, where magic exists and can be applied in unimaginable ways, but the way that activists at Blizzard imagined it is with a clunky ass wheelchair that'll have him cooked as soon as he hits a set of stairs. No healing the legs with magic, no magical construct that imitates legs, not even a goddamn hovering MacGuffin of any kind, just a clunky ass wheelchair. Anyway, and lastly, a woman with Down syndrome. These were based off of some actual women who collaborated with them, and listen man, I harbor no ill will here towards these ladies or anyone in similar positions as them. I wish them all the best, and I have nothing against them finding joy and escapism in video games. But the truth needs to be spoken here, and the truth is that nobody wants to play a major AAA game like Ghost of Yotei, or Horizon Zero Dawn, or Resident Evil, or Ninja Gaiden, or literally anything else in this vein as either of these imagined characters. And this doesn't even just apply to women, this applies to everything. No one wants to play God of War or Jedi Survivor or Devil May Cry or Deus Ex with these same kinds of characters but as males. I think this is so brain broken, honestly. It's crazy to even have to put it into words. Like, Deus Ex is such a perfect example of this sick mentality proponed by activism in the games industry. Adam Jensen, the protagonist of Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, gets blown the fuck up. Barely anything of him is left. I think it was basically just his torso and his head, and if my memory serves, even his torso was heavily damaged. He lost every single limb and several organs. The developers could have gone with one of two routes. Either put him in a wheelchair with an IV bag and an oxygen machine, plus a little computer for him to speak through like Stephen Hawking or some shit, and pretend as if that's cool and it's important and diverse and inclusive and representative, you know, social impact and all this bullshit, you know, and lose a bunch of money because nobody would want to play that. Or they could have done precisely what they did, which is to use the goddamn futuristic sci-fi setting of the universe to remake the character as badass as possible, with body augmentations that look sleek and imitate actual regular limbs, plus with the bonus of powerful special cybernetic abilities. This is the mentality that we need in video games, but activists hate it because it doesn't empower the unempowerable. They don't want to see characters that suffer from some kind of condition or debilitation to conquer it or fix it or eliminate it completely through magic or sci-fi futurism. They want us to sit and pretend like those conditions and debilitations are actually brave, stunning, and powerful and need to be glorified. In other words, they want us to bullshit ourselves under the guise that not doing so is ableist or whatever. Same thing happens with gender ideology in some of these games, like in Veilguard. Have you noticed that? Where you literally have types of magic in the lore that allow for full body transmutations or whatever they're called, and yet contemporary human transgenderism still exists where you get surgeries like we do, leaving behind their post-op scars like the ones that we could place on our characters in the character creator. Because the idea here is not to transcend the hardship of dysphoria or whatever, it's not to create the character that you want to roleplay as and have fun in a way that would make sense and that anyone with dysphoria would immediately say yes to, like if it existed in real life. Like in real life, if you could just magically make it go away, why the fuck wouldn't you? But the idea is not to do any of this. Their idea is to glorify and normalize it, not realizing that injecting it into settings where it doesn't fit, like fantasy, only makes it all so much more tiring, overexposed, and frankly even ridiculous and morally questionable. Like, it makes me question so much of what exactly are the intentions that these people have. This is why I differentiate so much regular trans people from these types of activists, because any regular trans person that I know two of them in real life and I know a few of them online, and every single one that I ask this fucking question, would you make it go away with magic, something I asked back in the Veilguard days, they tell me, duh, of course. But these activists have a completely different way of thinking. It's just not a normal mindset. You have a problem, you want to get rid of your problem so that you can live normally. To them, the problem itself is an identity, and it's something that they are so captured by. But anyway, this is already a bit too much of a deviation, so let's get back on topic with the Epic Games and Dove thing. The whole concept about women wanting this is bullshit. You talk to any female gamer that actually plays these kinds of games, you know, like action games and RPGs, and you tell them to show you the characters that they created, and they will be showing you gorgeous characters that they spent over a goddamn hour customizing, many of which are rocking very revealing outfits as well, which, as I said earlier, wasn't even necessary. but they do it anyway because they too love beauty in their escapism, even if it's not reflective of them, just as we dudes love badass fit protagonists even if they don't reflect us either. Anyway, let's get back to the post, but take a break to drink some water, fellas. Hydration is important while dismantling false narratives. So why do activists in so many studios choose to do this kind of thing, where they throw away conventionally appealing designs instead of doing what would make more sense financially? Well, they're activists and they want to challenge what people find conventional. They want to subvert our reality, and they've actually done a really good job of it by labeling anyone questioning it as some kind of a bad person, some kind of bigotism, maybe sexism, maybe ableism, maybe racism, or some kind of phobia, phobia this, phobia that, you know how it is. You surely get what I'm saying here, basically if you label all discourse as problematic, demonize any dissent, and you've successfully forced your bullshit on everyone, even when it doesn't make sense for 99% of the people on the planet. They actually managed to push this kind of thing very far through that kind of thing alone, and through the false notion that this person used here in her post. This thing of, oh, unappealing women exist in real life, therefore they can exist in video games. It's logical, and it comes across as the right thing because it imposes a false notion that character design in video games is about representation of some kind. So basically it's like, if you have an appealing character, you are representing conventionally attractive people, thereby privileging them, when in reality this just isn't the case at all. I sure as fuck don't look like Cal Kestis. Hell, I just got done playing Dying Like the Beast, where Kyle Crane makes his return looking like this. I sure as shit don't look like that, fellas, and I sure as shit don't care, nor am I offended or convinced of some retarded false notion that Techland went with this design for Crane because they wanted to represent and benefit gym bros who look chiseled and oppress everyone else who doesn't. No, they went with this design because they're smart. They're game developers and they know what the hell they're doing. They know their goddamn audience. They know what gamers want to play as in an action-adventure style game. Duh. So regardless of how logical the sentence may look like on its own, it doesn't matter. It's a strawman argument drenched in emotional blackmail. Premium games in the AAA space are to entertain and sell, primarily. Preferably like hotcakes so that they can make back all the money that they spent making them and then some in profits. Not to reflect a fraction of reality for the sake of social justice or cultural impact or some other bullshit like that. There's examples in this post that are totally indefensible, even beyond this notion, such as Tosh, whose looks were actually the least of the problems with his character, and the bigger problem was actually the way that it was written and what it was used for. That's actually a major issue with several of the girl boss characters people complain about. They lack compelling qualities and they don't look cool nor have likable attitudes to make up for it either. It's almost like writers forget how to write characters when they have to write a girl character like this. It's like they get nervous with the material that they have in front of them. It's like it flusters them. They don't know how to write a character like this because they overthink it way too much. Other characters are able to be given flaws and problems that they have to deal with, things that they are even wrong in. But for characters like this, they must be so perfect in these writers' minds that they just end up screwing it up. And it all makes even less sense when developers take an actress that looks good, but then during the scanning, they botch those scans to make the characters look unappealing. It's crazy how often this happens with female characters and how it never happens with male characters. You look at Cal Kestis, for example, and he's the spitting image of his actor, Cameron Monaghan. You look at Sam Bridges and he's a perfect scan of Normanriot. He was even given a few extra muscles to make him look even better. I won't bother going down the list, this is just what it is. It's common because this is like a plague that only seems to hit female characters. The reason why? Because of this stupid non-existent thing that activists love to fight called the male gaze. These morons are capable of shooting themselves in the foot during the design of these characters just to make sure that male gamers get caught, without realizing that by botching scans and making female characters ugly, forgettable, or just downright uninteresting, they're only making female protagonists themselves even worse. They are crippling their chances of their characters becoming famous and even iconic like Lara Croft, Bayonetta, Samus, Tifa, Aerith, 2B, etc. and failing female gamers across the planet who keep getting stiffed when it comes to modern female-led video games. And this doesn't even mean that I agree with all of the examples on the picture. For example, I like Aloy. I don't even like seeing that screenshot being used still to this day because it's misrepresentative of what's actually in the game. That was from a vertical slice shown before launch. The model in the final game does not look like that, and you can make her look even better if you want to use makeup or face paints that are an unlockable cosmetic in the game. But every other example in the picture is accurate. And there's even others that weren't put in this meme, like the girl from the new Fable game, or Joanna Dark from the now cancelled Perfect Dark game, or the female Custodes or K-Vess from Star Wars Outlaws. Which, by the way, was confirmed by an insider working at Ubisoft that the botched design was deliberate because the environment in the studio has been so overtaken by this activism bullshit that the concept of beautiful characters is something that is looked down upon. These details were given to Legendary Drops, by the way, I'm not pulling them out of my ass. And in the case of Atsu, there's a similar thing to that too, because there's good pictures of the actress out there on the internet, yet the character seems to have been designed to bring out every blemish that she has and to look as unremarkable as possible. And it's like, come on dude, we're supposed to be playing as some kind of badass ghostly spirit of vengeance, a Ronin who is a prodigy with weapons, and this is how they envision her? This is what they want in a poster? Well, I guess in the posters we have her with a mask, and honestly, if I was playing this, I would be using a mask the entire time too, because that's the only way to make her look striking. Even the in-game artwork of the character betrays this concept. This is what it looks like. This is in-game in some character menu or whatever. The way she's envisioned here would have been more than fine in-game. No one is solely expecting Gunnerslop designs. We're just expecting characters that aren't made unappealing on purpose just to score social justice points. Characters can even look roughed up and muscular with scars and all manner of other things so long as they look cool. I like bringing up Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey in this regard. They wanted this character to look very fit. She's supposed to be some kind of half-demigod character or whatever. Yes, by the way, this is an Assassin's Creed video game, but look, it is what it is. At least it was fun and the story was well done, unlike Shadows. Anyway, so half demigod, so naturally she's meant to be very fit and have a warrior's body, but they still retained a female silhouette and a pretty face regardless. Why is it so bad, from an activist side of things, to do this with other characters such as Atsu, for example? Why are these people so brain-rotted that they can't even do a design compromise of some kind by making their female heroes both fit, even muscular to an extent, and good looking, like actually still retaining their femininity? These people always want to push past that shit. You see the problem? Do you understand why these people need to get the fuck out of these major studios in this industry? Do you see why I go so hard on this? It's because their intention is to literally damage it. It's to push it past any preset boundary. It's not enough to have more prominent female characters. We must change the female character and start turning them into heroes that do the same iconic shit that male heroes do. In fact, turn them into the iconic male heroes. Got a Witcher? We need a female Witcher. Got a Spartan? We need a female Spartan. You got Indiana Jones? You need the female Indiana Jones. You got fucking, I don't know, Chuck Norris? Well, we need female Chuck Norris too. And it's not enough to try and find a compromise where they're strong, compelling, and beautiful in their own way. No, sir. Femininity itself must be subverted because femininity is an offensive and harmful social construct. Attractiveness must be subverted too because it's male gaze. Oh, the male gaze. Somebody stop the male gaze. So instead of characters like Cassandra, we gotta get characters whose genders are ambiguous, characters that look androgynous or so far away from what a conventional female would look like that we're practically making them look like men, such as the case with Abby from The Last of Us 2. And a few others, of course. All of this in major roles across major franchises. And just to stick it to as many gamers as possible. Again, these people need to be fired, dude. If they want to pursue this bullshit in their own independent projects with their own money, then let them. But they gotta be removed from leading decisions and directions in AAA. This is like employing a serial arsonist to be a fireman. Shit doesn't work. The goal of the games industry is to entertain and provide escapism, and these people's goals are to do the exact opposite. There's dozens of examples of this in media, and for decades this was never a problem. We had great female characters that are still beloved to this day. This was never an issue until these maladjusted retards showed up and started enforcing their way on everyone else through victim cards. They're not victims of anything, they're bullies. And the damage that they've done to the games industry has been more than notable. It's time to stop obfuscating this shit and actually target the main issue at hand when discussing these matters. Enough of this copium of gooners and whatever. Every time I hear it, the first thing I think of is projection. Which, hey, maybe that's precisely the case, especially if Kata's assertion at the intro of the video was accurate and we can indeed see her naked for less than a chicken combo. One way or the other, it doesn't really matter. It's all fake. It's all an illusion to avoid acknowledging the elephant in the room, which is this agenda against women, beauty, and femininity. Or at the very least, an agenda so hyperfixated on hating men and everything that men enjoy, that they end up having the exact same effect on women as collateral damage. I could end the video right here and now, but I want to do some rapid-fire copium shutdowns to more replies that the op posted. You know how many video games out there force me to play as a man that I'm not attracted to? Nearly all of them. But you don't see me crying because I can't have a wank over some pixels. Grow up. Irrelevant. None of this is inherently tied to attraction, much less by having wanks. By the way, she's a lesbian, so basically by her retarded logic, every male character is off limits to her, even if it is an appealing design for women as well. So honestly, again, it's just the kind of shit that drops my IQ below fucking zero when I have to read what this dipshit is saying and rationalize it. Though then again, that's my fault for trying to rationalize shit that makes no sense. Like, Claire Max, She-Rage, whatever the fuck your name is, if your first thing that you think of in video game discourse is to have wanks, you're already so lost in the sauce that this conversation can't even be had. Here's another one. Hey, can we go back to when beautiful female characters in video games were the norm, not the exception? So you want to goon to teenage girls? Mind-blowing display of logic. It totally is, and Claire Max's reply to this was, when were beautiful female characters in video games the norm? Give me examples. The op is living in such a false reality that she's willing to pretend as if the games industry wasn't packed with good-looking female characters for ages, while simultaneously trying to make the claim that characters in the industry have been too sexualized and too conventional over time, and so, back to her original claim, unappealing designs should exist too. Since, you know, they also exist in real life. So which is it, moron? Are we caked up with gooner fantasy characters, or have beautiful character designs never been the norm? Is the hair dye fucking with your brain or something? They're hurting their future in many cases, but they're also adults, so it's up to them if they think the trade-off for money is worth it for them personally. I don't care one way or the other. Her reply: how are they hurting their future? So she also doesn't understand basic math, nor has she been paying attention to the games industry and what is it that sells versus what doesn't sell. Like somehow she's been asleep at the wheel throughout late last year where Marvel Rivals blew Overwatch 2 out of the water. Granted, character designs are not the only thing that matters, the game must be fun too. But get two games that play equally, exactly the same, where one of them features appealing heroes versus the other that features soy boys and ugly girls, And if you are unable to decipher which one of them is going to make more money and which one is going to go under and sink the company, then you might just be a lobotomite. There were some other good points made by other people on her comments that you didn't respond to. One of them was this one by Asmongold, noting how there's far more people cosplaying the girls on the left panel rather than the ones on the right panel, and he's totally right. Madame Savvy also noted that the creation of fan art of Atsu was dead on the first day and has been slow since, which is also a notable thing that shows fandom interest in a particular character, or at the very least character design, because there's characters that got fan art solely off of their looks. These are all signs of a very obvious truth. We all know why this is, we all know why cosplayers like to do the characters on the left rather than the ones on the right. It's very easy to see if you're not coping, they're better looking and more compelling. People like the things that they like, but it's like this must be an unspoken thing to these people who bend over backwards to oppose reality itself. This one here is just more retarded shit in obfuscation, for example, where she lists a few successful games and tries to cope that neither of them were successful due to hot women. Therefore what? Good-looking characters are irrelevant and you can just sell games with ugly ones? Again, this is so embarrassing because she could have just taken an L and move on, but instead, she keeps doubling and tripling down, further burying and embarrassing herself. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a cowboy story with a bunch of dudes with an expensive, old west, open world and a gritty story. You're not playing as a woman. GTA 5 is the same kind of thing. Also, women did not look like shit in it. Mario Kart is fucking Mario Kart. Are you serious right now? PUBG is a gritty battle royale game. Witcher 3 is caked with attractive female characters. It's a goddamn staple of the games even. It's even a thing with the lore, where it's set in a world where the sorceresses who succeed eliminate every blemish and deformity they have with body-twisting magic that turns them into breathtaking women. Like, why am I even responding to this in good faith when she isn't even a fucking gamer? Like, back there, she's asking for examples of when were good-looking female characters a standard, not because she has any argument against it, not because she is even making an argument herself, but because she's a fucking retarded tourist who hasn't even touched any of these games, but has the balls to come in and dictate how things should and shouldn't be in genres and spaces where she doesn't even have an interest in. Then she gets called out on her bullshit and has nothing of worth to say in return. She's still carrying on as we speak, by the way. Like, I woke up earlier today and there was more stuff that she had interacted in regards to the post, you know, coping about more people, coping about more things that were said to her and that she had no response to in return, obfuscating more and more and more of the issues, and I'm just done. I'm not even gonna bother. It's the same old story with these people, constantly. I'm gonna try to find another interaction while editing, but another thing I remember browsing through 2 nights ago, when I was checking out this shit show, was the op trying to argue that the characters on the right were actually very compelling and had better stories than the ones on the left, which is just more evidence that she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. See, I'm fine with acknowledging subjectivity, but at this point, all this is stacked up against her. There's no such thing as subjectivity here. She just got cooked by people and is now being a contrarian, even if the shit that she says is the equivalent of saying that the moon is made of cheese. And with that, I'm just done wasting any more of my time on this. Social media is truly a special place where random people inflate themselves with followers and views, gaining some false sense of relevancy, intelligence, confidence, or some kind of importance that they think that they can speak on matters that they know nothing about. Logic and sense? Zero. All they've got is obfuscation and appeals to emotion that disregard all sense. And when challenged, they just respond with these bullshit labels like sexists or gooners or pedos or whatever else to discredit the people making them, regardless of if they're coming at it from a place of good faith or bad. Usually I would see this, drop a comment of my own and move on, but to be honest, I wanted to cover it here again because this is an important matter that needs to be brought back up and destroyed every now and again. Because as you can see, it's been a whole year, and these people are still refusing to engage in good faith, and the games industry out here in the West specifically keeps on not addressing the issue. This is still a topic that is taboo to talk about and that people get demonized for, even though there's so much clear evidence of what's being done and why. But anyway, for the sake of not making this video too long and draining, I'm going to cut it here for today. If you enjoyed the video and you find the matter important, please drop a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Interaction with videos are the kinds of things that help YouTube count your views in their recent changes to the algorithm. Beyond that, if you guys want to share it around, I would appreciate it too. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care of yourselves.